I wasn't traveling, we'd go on the road, we'd go to the city, and we really had a good time. So we get to the playoffs, we get knocked out, his team keeps going. So I'm very, very happy for my son. I don't know where this journey is going to end, but it's his internship. I want my son to do well. So as this progresses, it goes longer and longer and longer, and ultimately my wife and I find ourselves at the World Series watching the Boston Red Sox win the World Series. My son Ryan holding the World Series trophy and getting a World Series ring. He's been in the business 7 months. He's been in the business for 7 months. He gets a World Series ring from the Boston Red Sox. I was with the Cubs for 24 years. Nothing. I really try not to be heavy-handed with my kids. We've had some pretty strong, deliberate conversations. However, I said to Ryan, one more time, you're out of the will. Not much there, but you're out of the will. But I do hope he wins again. He's now with the Chicago Cubs. We'll get into that a little bit later. This really is a privilege for me. What an amazing journey it's been. Leaving the Chicago Cubs was an extremely difficult decision for me. I received a phone call shortly after we got knocked out of the playoffs in 2007, and it was a gentleman who called me on my cell phone about 6:30 at night, and he said, I picked up the phone and he said his name, and he said, I represent Rocky Wirtz, and Rocky feels it would be within your best interest to meet with him sometime in the very near future. And I said, I'm really glad that you called. Primarily, I want to extend condolences to Rocky on the passing of his father. I wish him well in running the Chicago Blackhawks. I thought it would be a couple guys getting together and I could explain the sports landscape to him. But I told this guy on the phone, I'm heading to Florida on Sunday. Sometime when I get back, we'll get together and please give Rocky my best. I've never met him. About 17 seconds later, the phone rings again. Somehow in those 17 seconds, his voice got deeper, and he said, I mentioned it to Rocky. He really thinks it's important that the two of you get together before you go to Florida. Now, I'm from Chicago. His name is Rocky. I think it's a good idea that I made it. But I made him play me on my home turf. And we had a great conversation. And he told me that as he took over the Chicago Blackhawks, he had not been a part of that organization. And he needed to have somebody come in there that was going to help resurrect and start a resurgence. Because, as I told Rocky, the potential of this franchise is the moon. About an hour into it, maybe a glass of wine into it, I don't know, it's foggy, I don't really remember. But he said something that changed my life forever. He said, John, I'm going to lose all of my leverage when I tell you this, but I want you to run the Chicago Blackhawks. And not only did he not lose any leverage, he gained all of my respect. He said, I'm going to make you an offer. It's going to be sent to you in Florida. He did that. I wrestled with it. I took about 4 or 5 days longer than I should have. I counseled Jay. I went to Jay and said, what do you think? Now, in the back of my mind, as I'm contemplating going to the Chicago Blackhawks from the Chicago Cubs as president, in the back of my mind, I'm saying, if I take this job, he's coming with me. Whether he wants to or not, he's coming with me. So I get to the Blackhawks, I get to the press conference, and all of the local media people that I've known forever, and I go through the office, and an intern takes me around, and I said, I'd like to meet the receptionist. We don't have one. I'd like to meet the Director of Human Resources. Now she's starting to cry. We don't have one of those either. I say, okay, I want to meet the person that runs the business. Kind of a half smile came to her face, and she said, we do have one of those, but he's on vacation. That's when I knew this was going to be a daunting task. We made a lot of changes. Change has defined the culture of that franchise from day one. It became personal. It was something that